Sindhavya Patina Pavani Bhavashnapayo Namo Namaha Amangyanam Janam Dasya Gyanangana Shalakaya Chakshuramatim Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Been reading from Antya, Volume 2, Chapter 4. Sanatana Gosvami visits the Lord at Jagannath Puri. In this chapter, the Lord instructs Sanatana Gosvami to preach devotional service and go to Vrindavan to excavate lost holy places. Prior to this, he wanted to take his own life, and because his body becomes infected with suppurating pores and he's very sick, and he was ashamed to come before the Lord in such a degraded state. But the Lord dismissed that and said, your body belongs to me, and you're not to take your life, you're to instruct, you follow my instructions. And he forcefully embraces Sanatana Goswami and actually removes all the sores on all his illness. Okay, so Yado yapi tumi hau jagata pavana Thomas Parshe Pavitra haya deva muni gana Stabi bhakta swabhava Maryada rakshana Maryada palana haya sadura bhushana. My dear Sanatana, although you are the deliverer of the entire universe, and although even the demigods and great saints are purified by touching you, it is the characteristic of devotee to observe and protect Vaishnava etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. Maryadi langane loka kare upahasa iha loka para loka doi haya nasha. If one transgresses the laws of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he is vanquished in both this world and the next. By observing the etiquette, you have satisfied my mind. Who else but you will show this example? Etta boli prabhu tanre alingana kaila tanra kandu rasa prabhura shi anga lagila. To saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Sanatana Goswami, and the moisture oozing from the itching sores on Sanatana's body smeared the body of the Lord. Bara bara nishadana tabu kare alingana ange rasa lage dukkha paya Sanatana. Although Sanatana Goswami forbade Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to embrace him, the Lord did so. Thus his body was smeared with the moisture from Sanatana's body, and Sanatana became greatly distressed. Yamata sevaka prabhu dune gara gela aradina jagananda sanatarene melila. Thus both servant and master departed for their respective homes. The next day Jagannatha Pandit went to meet Sanatana Goswami. Doi jana vashi Krishna kata goshti kaila Panditere Sanatana Dokya Nive Dila. When Jagannath Pandit and Sanatana Goswami sat together and began to discuss topics about Krishna, Sanatana Goswami submitted to Jagannath Pandit the cause of his distress. Niyan ailam prabhure deki dukkha kandaite yebe mane taha prabhu na daila karite. I came here to diminish my unhappiness by seeing Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the Lord did not allow me to execute what was in my mind. Nishe dite prabhu alingana kare karena more mora kandu rasa lage prabhura sharire. Although I forbid him to do so, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu nevertheless embraces me, and therefore his body becomes smeared with the discharges from my itching sores. Aparada haya mora nahika nistara Jagannatheya nadekiye eduka apara. In this way I am committing offences at his lotus feet, for which I will certainly not be delivered. At the same time I cannot see Lord Jagannath. This is my great unhappiness. Hita nimita ailana ami haila viparite ki karila hita haya nari nirdaharite. I came here for my benefit, but now I see that I'm getting just opposite. I do not know, nor can I ascertain how they will benefit me. Pandita Kahi Tamara Vasa Yogya Pindavana Rathayatra Deki Tahan Kara Gamana. Jagannath Pandit said, the most suitable place for you to reside is Vrindavan. After seeing the Rathayatra festival, you can return there. Prabhura Agya Hanache Toma Doibaye Vrindavane Vaisatahan Sarva Sukha Pahiye. The Lord has already ordered both you and your brothers to situate yourselves in Vrindavan. There you will achieve all happiness. Yakare Ayala Prabhura Tekila Charana Rate Jagannath Deki Kara Gamana. Your purpose in coming has been fulfilled, for you have seen the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, after seeing Lord Jagannath on the Rath Yatra car, you can leave. Sanatana kahe bala kaila upadesha tanya bese mora prabhu tata desha. Sanatana Goswami replied, you have given me very good advice. I should certainly go there. That is the place the Lord has given me for my residence. The words Prabhupada Desha are very significant. Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu's devotional cult teaches one not to sit down in one place, but to spread the devotional cult all over the world. The Lord dispatched Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami to Vrindavan to excavate and renovate the holy places, and from there established the cult of Bhakti. Therefore, Vrindavan was given to Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami as their place of residence. Similarly, everyone in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotional cult should accept the words of the spiritual master and thus spread the Krishna consciousness movement. They should go everywhere, to all parts of the world, accepting those places as Prabhu Datta Desha, the places of residence given by the spiritual master, Lord Krishna. The spiritual master is the representative of Lord Krishna. Therefore, one who has carried out the spiritual orders, the orders of the spiritual master, is understood to have carried out the orders of Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to spread the bhakti cult all over the world. Pritiviti ache yata nagaradi grama. Therefore, devotees in the line of Krishna consciousness must go to different parts of the world and preach as ordered by the spiritual master that will satisfy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ete boli done nija karya uti gela ardina Mahaprabhu milibare aila. After talking in this way, Sanatana Goswami and Jagannath Pandit returned to their respective duties. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to see Haridas and Sanatana Goswami. Haridas Kaila Prabhura Charana Vandana, Haridas Kaila Prabhu Prema Alingana. Haridas Thakur offered obeisances to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord embraced him in ecstatic love. Durahoite danda pranama kare Sanatana, Prabhu bolaya barabkarita alingana. Sanatana Goswami offered his obeisances and dandavats from a distant place, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him again and again to embrace him. Aparad bhaya tena milite na ila, Prabhu mili bare se tane gela. Out of fear of committing offences, Sanatana Goswami did not come forward to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord, however, went forward to meet him. Sanata bhagi pache karena gamana balata kare dari Prabhu kaila elingana. Sanatana Goswami backed away, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu caught him by force and embraced him. Doi jana lana Prabhu vasila pindate, nivina Sanatana lagila kahite. The Lord took them both with him and sat down in a sacred place. Then Sanatana Goswami, who was advanced in renunciation, began to speak. Hita lagi ainu muni haila viparita, seva yogya nahi aparada karon niti niti. I came here for my benefit, he said, but I see that I am getting just the opposite. I am fit to render service. I simply commit offences day after day. By nature, I am low-born. I am contaminated reservoir of sinful activities. If you touch me, sir, that will be a great offence on my part. Tahate amara ange kandu rasa raktak chale, tomara ange lagi tabu, sparshaha tumi bale. Moreover, blood is running from infected, itching sores on my body, smearing your body with moisture, but still you touch me by force. Bibatsa sparshite nakara grinaleshe e aparhade mora habe sarva nashe. My dear sir, you do not even have a pinch of aversion to touching my body, which is in a horrible condition. Because of this offence, everything auspicious will be vanquished for me. Tate hin rohile mora nahaya kalyana agna deha rata deki yana vrindavana. Therefore I see that I will get nothing auspicious by staying here. Kindly give me orders allowing me to return to Vrindavan after the Rath Yatra festival. Jaganande pandite ami yukti puchila Vrindavan yote tena upadesha dila. I consulted Jagannatha Pandit for his opinion, and he has also advised me to return to Vrindavan. Ete shuni Mahaprabhu sarosha antare Jagannande kruda hane kare tiraskare. Hearing this, Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu in an angry mood began to chastise Jagannatha Pandit. Kalikara batuya jaga aiche garvi haila tomara sabhareya Upadesha karite lagila. Jagannath Pandit, is only a new boy, but he's become so proud that he thinks himself competent to advise a person like you. Vyavahare pramaharte tumi tara guru tulya tomare upadeshe najane apana mulya. In affairs of spiritual advancement, and even in ordinary dealings, you're on the level of his spiritual master. Yet, not knowing his own value, he dares to advise you. Amara upadeshta tumi paramanika arya tomare upadeshe palaga kare echa karya. My dear Sanatana, you are on the level of my advisor, for you are an authorized person. But Jaga wants to advise you. This is but the impudence of a naughty boy. This is very high. Jagannath Pandit ki jai. Shuni Sanatan Paya Dari Prabhure Kahila Jagannandera Subhagaya Aji Sejanila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thus chastising Jagannath Pandit, Sanatana Goswami fell at the Lord's lotus feet and said, I can now understand the fortunate position of Jagannatha. Apanara asobhagya ajihaila jnana jagade nahi Jagannatha sama bhagyavan. I can also understand my misfortune. No one in this world is as fortunate as Jagannatha. Jagannatha piyau atmiyata shuddha rasa more piyau gaurava stuti nimba nishinda rasa. Sir, you are making Jagannatha drink the nectar of affectionate relationships. But as by offering me honourable prayers, you are making me drink the bitter juice of Nimba and Nishinda. Ajina hila more atmiyata jnana more abhagya tumi swatantra bhagavan. It is my misfortune that you have not accepted me as your as one of your intimate relations. But you are the completely independent, supreme personality of Godhead. Shuni Mahabru kichu lajita haila mane tanre santoshite kichu balena vachane. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was somewhat ashamed. Just to satisfy Sanatana Goswami, he spoke the following words. Jagannanda priya maranaya toma haite maryadya langhanami na paran sahite. My dear Sanatana, please do not think that Jagannatha is more dear to me than you. However, I cannot tolerate transgressions of the standard etiquette. Kahan Tomi Pramanika Shastre Pravina, Kahan Jaga Karikara Batoya Navina. You are an experienced authority in the Shastras, whereas Jaga is just a young boy. Affectionately calls him Jaga. Yeah. So I will make a little comment upon this. Sanatana Goswami is saying, in the early verses I just read, he's actually saying, you're praising me with prayers. Praise is worse than chastisement. Chastisement is actually higher. It's great. He wants that. Pure devotees want correction, want chastisement from the Lord. It should make them realize the Lord more, what their defects within themselves. They think like this. Praising can produce pratishta. You can bring it to believe that when we're all imperfect, fallen souls. So there's a play going on here. But he's affectionate to Jaga because he's a wonderful devotee, But he's just there for teaching us. He's teaching us something that an older devotee is to be respected because of their experience and their surrender and their service and all the things they've done. And a newcomer should honor that always. Amake bujahite tumi dara shakti katatani bujanacha vyavahara bhakti. You have the power to convince me, even me. Many places you have already convinced me about orderly behavior and devotional service. Tamari upadeshakare nayaya sahana ataivatare ami kariya partsana. Jagannath advising you is intolerable for me. Therefore I am chastising him. Vairanga gyane tomare nakari stavana tomara gune stuti karya yache tomara guna. I offer you praise, not because I think of you as being outside an intimate relationship with me, but because you are actually so qualified that one is forced to praise your qualities. Yadyapi kara mamata bahujane haya priti swabhava kaite bhavadaya. Although one has affection for many persons, different types of ecstatic love awaken according to the nature of one's personal relationships. So in this previous verse here he's saying that, okay, Jagannath is one of my personal intimate associates and you are preaching out there. You're not so physical proximity to me. Yet he's saying that Sanatana Goswami is so high. Proximity doesn't mean anything. And the connection is heart, not physical proximity. It's important to understand these things. Tumara dehe tumi kara bibatsa jnana, tumara dehe mare lage amrita samana. You consider your body dangerous and awful, but I think that your body is like nectar. Aprakrita dehe tamara prakta kabunaya, tatapi tamara tate prakrita buddhihaya. Actually, your body is transcendental, never material. You're thinking of it, however, in terms of material conception. This is a really instructive purport that's coming next. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives his opinion about how a person completely engaged in the service of the Lord transforms his body from material to transcendental. He says a pure devotee engaged in the service of Lord Krishna has no desire for his personal sense gratification. Thus he never accepts anything for that purpose. He desires only the happiness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And because of his ecstatic love for Krishna, he acts in various ways. Karmis think that the material body is an instrument for material enjoyment. That is why they work extremely hard. A devotee, however, has no such desires. A devotee always engages wholeheartedly in the service of the Lord, forgetting about bodily conceptions and bodily activities. The body of a karmi is called material because the karmi, being too absorbed in material activities, is always eager to enjoy material facilities. But the body of a devotee who tries his best to work very hard for the satisfaction of Krishna, by fully engaging in the Lord's service, must be accepted as transcendental. Whereas karmis are interested only in the personal satisfaction of their senses. Devotees work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one who cannot distinguish between devotion and ordinary karma may mistakenly consider the body of a pure devotee material. One who knows does not commit such a mistake. Non-devotees who consider devotional activities and ordinary material activities to be on the same level are offenders to the chanting of the transcendental holy name of the Lord. A pure devotee knows that a devotee's body is being always transcendental, is just suitable for rendering service to the Lord. A devotee on the topmost platform of devotional service always humbly thinks that he is not rendering any devotional service. He thinks that he is poor in devotional service and that his body is material. On the other hand, those known as the Sahajas foolishly think that their material bodies are transcendental. Because of this, they are always bereft of the association of pure devotees, and thus they cannot behave like Vaishnavas. Observing the defects of the Sahajas, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has sung as follows in his book, Kalyana Kalpataru. I don't know the tune to this, but I'll just read it out. Amita Vaishnave Buddhi Haile Amani Nahibe Ami Pratishta Asi Hridaya Dushibe Haibe Niregami Nija Shrishta Jani Uchishtadi Dane Habe Abhimana Bara Tai Shishya Tava Takiya Sarvada Na Laibe Puja Kara. If I think I'm a Vaishnava, I shall look forward to receiving respect from others. And if the desire for fame and reputation pollute my heart, certainly I shall go to hell. By giving others the remnants of my food, I shall consider myself superior and shall be burdened with the weight of false pride. Therefore, always remaining your surrendered disciple, I shall not accept worship from anyone else. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has written, Premere svabhava yahan premere sambhanda semane Krishna more nahi prema ganda. Wherever there is a relationship of love of Godhead, the natural symptoms are that the devotee does not think himself a devotee, but he always thinks that he has not even a drop of love for Krishna. This is the nature of the pure devotees. They're totally surrendered, they're totally self-giving, they only serve, and think that they're unworthy of that service. It's instructive for us, because they think that because they know they're only instruments of the Lord's will, because they've made themselves that way. They themselves feel fallen, yet they're so high. Prakrita haile he tomara vapunari upkshite bradra badra vastu jnana nahika prakrite. Even if your body were material, I still could not neglect it, for the material body should be considered neither good nor bad. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Gosvami, since you are a Vaishnava, your body is spiritual, not material. Therefore you should not consider this body to be subjected to superior or inferior qualities. Moreover, I am a sannyasi, therefore even if your body were material, a sannyasi should see no distinction between a good body and a bad body. Kim badram kim abhadram va tvaitasya fustunaha kiyat vachoditam tad anritam manasa dyatam evacha. Anything not conceived in relationship to Krishna should be understood to be illusion, maya. None of the illusions uttered by words or conceived in the mind are factual. Because illusion is not factual, there is no distinction between what we think is good and what we think is bad. When we speak of the absolute truth, such speculations do not apply. This verse is quoted from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, 28th chapter, text 4. The Maya is within us, and it's concocted by the mind. Dvaite Bhadra Bhadra Jnana Sabha Manodharma, e bala e manda e sabad Brahma. In the material world, conceptions of good and bad are all mental speculation. Speculations. Therefore, saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake. This is our misconception. Everything that's going on in the world there is going on by the Lord's will, the modes of material nature, material elements, 5 elements, and the subtle energies, mind, ego, and buddhi, intelligence, is a discriminating factor. All these material things. That is Maya. And we can be confused by that. Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is the absolute truth, ever existing with different varieties of energies. When one is absorbed in the illusory energy of Krishna and cannot understand Krishna, one cannot ascertain what is good and bad for him. Conceptions of good and bad are all imaginations or mental speculations. When one forgets that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he wants to enjoy the material world through different plans. At the time he distinguishes between material plans that are good and those that are bad. Actually, however, they are all false, even the so-called good ones. An example would be watching a little talk given by Bhakti Sripad, and it was from Melbourne in the real 1970s. It's just a 9-minute video. And somebody asked him a question. The question he asked was, but you say you do good, but surely there are people who can do good who are not religious. And he said, no. It's all mental concoctions of their mind. They think it is. They may think they were benefiting someone, providing food or welfare or doing some good to a person. So you help that person. But they may go out and do some sinful act. It's illusion. The only good that you can give, say, if you're giving some food to someone or give them, is that you give them prasadam, you are prasadarians, spiritually offered food, and that is good, because that helps them change their simple activity. They may still go out and do something not good, but you've acted in a positive way. That's the religious way. The other way is actually sinful. You could be creating sin. You see the distinction? So that's what he's saying here. It's an example of it. And if you see Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gave that example, and it was really brilliantly explained. One of my favorite shlokas. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapake Cha Pandita Samvadashinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. This was a quotation from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 18. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kutasto Vijitendriha Yukta Iti Uchyate Yogi Sama Lostrama Kanchana. One who is fully satisfied in knowledge, obtained and practically applied in life, who is always determined and fixed in his spiritual position, who completely controls his senses, and who sees pebbles, stone, gold on the same level, is understood to be a perfect yogi. This is a quotation from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 6. Amita sannyasi amara samadrishti dharma chandana pankete amara jnana haya sama. Since I am in the renounced order, my duty is to make no distinctions, but instead be equipoised. My knowledge must be equally disposed towards sandalwood pulp and dirty mud. It is the duty of a sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, to be always equipoised. It's very difficult. That is also the duty of a learned man and a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, a sannyasi, or a learned person has no conception of the material world. In other words, he has no conception of anything materially important. He has no desire to use sandalwood pulp for sense gratification, nor does sense gratification make him hate mud. Acceptance or rejection of material things is not the concern of a sannyasi. A Vaishnava or a learned person, an advanced devotee, has no desire to enjoy or reject anything. His only duty is to accept whatever is favourable for the advancement of Krishna consciousness. A Vaishnava should be indifferent to material enjoyment, renunciation, should always hanker for the spiritual life of rendering service to the Lord. It's part of the limb of surrender, rejecting what is favourable and what is unfavourable for Krishna consciousness. And you have to apply that in your daily life. Am I doing this for myself or satisfy my senses, or am I doing it for Krishna? You have to ask your question, that question constantly. And then you begin to think, oh no, I won't do this. I'll do this. This is how to progress. And pray for that realization to Gurudev. Give me this facility to discriminate favorably. Elagi toma tiaga karite na yuyaya, grina buddhi kariyadi nija dharma yaya. For this reason I cannot reject you. If I hated you, I would deviate from my occupational duty. Makes no distinction, you see. The higher level consciousness, going back to this, Jai Shishi Guru Guranga Radhagiri Dajo Ki Jai, Shish Guru Guranga Sundar Giri Dajo Ki Jai, Radhagiri Dajo Ki Jai. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, cow and elephant, a dog eater. What he's seeing there, he's seeing the super soul within, and he's seeing them in all his devotees, every living entity. Sees no distinction. And at the high levels, you see, particularly amongst the human living entities, high devotee sees everybody as a devotee, even the drunks in the street or whatever. An example of that, many years ago, Srila Govinda Maharaj, we're coming out of the Guru Narayan Hall. It's in near Green Street Mott. I think you may know it. And we had a class there. And it came out of the hall. And I was talking to one young girl, and she was smoking, and I was trying to preach to her. And Gurudev came up behind me, and there was a drunk in the road with a bottle in his hand. And he saw Gurudev, and he went, "Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." Somehow he'd recognized. And Gurudev embraced him and said nice, kind words to him, and praised him. And Hare Krishna, he saw no distinction. He treated this gentleman just like he treats us, with love and affection. That, for me, was an example of this non-distinction. Jagannath, yes. Yeah. So that's how it should be. You should try to do that. Amitan sannyasi amara sama drishti dharma, chandana pankete amara jnana haya sama. I'm repeating this one because since I am the renounced order, my duty is to make no distinction, but instead be equally poised. My knowledge must be equally disposed towards sandalwood pulp and dirty mud. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, we're going to where I left off. But it goes deeper. Haridase kahe Prabhu ye kahila tumi e bhaya patrana nahi mani ami. Haridasa said, "My dear Lord, what you have spoken deals with external formalities. I don't accept it. Ama saba adame ye kariyacha angikara dina dayala guna tomara dahite prachara." My Lord, we are all fallen. but you have accepted us due to your attribute of being merciful to the fallen. This is well known all over the world. Prabhu Hasikaya Shuna Haridasa Sanatana Tatvataha Kai Tomara Vishaya Yaiche Moramana. Lord Chaitanya smiled and said, listen, Haridas and Sanatan. Now I am speaking the truth about how my mind is attached to you. Tamare Lalia Panake Lalaka Abhimana Lalakere Lalia Nahi Dosha Parijana Gyana. My dear Haridas and Sanatan, I think of you as my little boys to be maintained by me. The maintainer never takes seriously any faults of the maintained. When a father maintains a child and the child is maintained by the father never takes seriously the faults of the child. Even if they actually are faults, the father does not mind them. Apanara hoya amanya samana, toma sabare kahan muni palaka abhimana. I always think of myself as deserving no respect, but because of affection, I always consider you to be like my little children. Matara yeche palakera amedya lage kaya, grina nahi janme ara maha sukha paya. When a child passes stool and urine that touch the body of the mother never hates the child. On the contrary, she takes much pleasure in cleansing him. Lalia medya lalakera chandana samabaya sanatere tere amara griya na upad jaya. The stool and urine of the maintained child appear like sandalwood pop to the mother. Similarly, when the foul moisture oozing from the itches of Sanatan touches my body, I have no hatred for him. Haridasekaya Tomi Ishwara Daya, love overcomes everything. Love is above everything. Mercy is above justice. This is it, you know. Haridasekaya Tomi Ishwara Daya Maya, Tomara Gambira Hridaya Bhujana Nayaya. Haridas Thakur, my dear sir, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are most merciful towards us. No one can understand what is within your deeply affectionate heart. Vasudev Galat Kushti, Tate Anga Kridaya, Kida Maya, Taranlingana Kaila Hana Sadaya. You embraced the leper Vasudev, whose body was fully infected by worms. You are so kind that in spite of his condition, you embraced him. Alingiya Kaila Tara Kandarpa Sama Anga, Pujate Napari Tomara Kripara Taranga. By embracing him, you made his body as beautiful as that of Cupid. We cannot understand the waves of your mercy. Prabhu Kahe Vaishnava Deha Prakrita Kabunaya Aprikrita Deha Bhakatera Chidanandana Maya. Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu said, the body of a devotee is never material. It is considered to be transcendental, full of bliss, full of spiritual bliss. Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu is trying to convince Haridas Thakur and Sanatana Gosvami that a devotee whose life is dedicated to the service of the Lord is never in the material conception. Because he always engages in the service of the Lord, his body is transcendental and full of spiritual bliss. His body should never be considered material, just as the body of the deity worshipped in the temple is never considered to be made of stone or wood. Factually, the deity is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without a doubt. The injunctions of the Padma Puran therefore state, Arche Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Narmati Vaishnave Jati Buddhihi Yasya Va Naraki Saha. The deity worshipped in the temple is never stone or wood. Similarly, the body of a Vaishnava fully dedicated to the service of the Lord is never considered to belong to the material modes of nature, because he's gone beyond it. And apart from this, the high devotees do not make any distinction between material and spiritual. They see it all, because it's just the energies of the Lord. Whereas we see those distinctions. They don't. Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpana Se Kale Krishna Tare Kare Atma Sama. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders himself into the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself.
High level.
Se deha kare tara chidananda maya aprakrita deha tanra charane bhajaya. When the devotee's body is thus transformed into spiritual existence, that's consciousness, okay? He becomes consciously, his mind and his body, his mind, body, words is dedicated to Krishna. When the devotee's body is thus transformed into spiritual existence, the devotee in that transcendental body renders service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Marta yada tyakta samasta karma nivedatma vichikirstito me tamaritvam pratipadyamano mayatma boyaya chakalpate vai. The living entity who is subjected to birth and death when he gives up all material activities, dedicating his life to me for executing my order, and thus acts according to my direction, at that time he reaches the platform of immortality, becomes fit to enjoy the spiritual bliss of exchange of loving mellows with me. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, 29th chapter, text 34. At the time of initiation, a devotee gives up all his material conceptions. Therefore, being in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is situated on the transcendental platform. Thus, having attained knowledge on the spiritual platform, he always engages in the service of the spiritual body of Krishna. When one is freed from material connections in this way, his body immediately becomes spiritual, and Krishna accepts his service. However, Krishna does not accept anything from a person with a material conception of life. This is very important. If you're not in a devotional mood when offering, can we really say that Krishna is accepting your offering? Yeah. When one is freed from material connections in this way, his body immediately becomes spiritual, and Krishna accepts his service. Has our service been accepted? How do we know?
More seva will come.
Yes, more seva will come. That's one indication. But is it service? But it's the Guru.
And Utsaha will come also.
Yes. Guru. Guru is the key.
The inspiration, the blessings of the Guru is everything.
Yes. Yeah. When a devotee no longer has any desire for material sense gratification, in his spiritual identity he engages in the service of the Lord, for his dormant spiritual consciousness awakens. This awakening of spiritual consciousness makes his body spiritual, thus he becomes fit to render service to the Lord. Karmis may consider the body of a devotee material, but factually it is not, for a devotee has no conception of material enjoyment. If one thinks that the body of a pure devotee is material, he is an offender, for that is Vaishnava aparad. In this connection, one should consult Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita. First canto, 3rd chapter, text 45, and the second canto, 3rd chapter, text 139.
Do we have Bhagavatam?
Yes, we do have it here.
In English?
Yes.
Where is this?
It's in the shelves there.
Oh. It says
Yeah. It's translated by Gopi Bharanadana Prabhu.
Saraswati, my birthday, she gave me a Sri Prema Vivata. And
Yes.
I had it folded in plastic and I called Jagannath Maharaj and said, look, give me this book. And the books are very high, like the 10 canto beyond, so we cannot do it. So I called him and he said, yes, we can do it now.
Yes. We are permitted to read that. And the same with the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. I mean, it's translated. It's a very good translation, and it's authorized. It was authorized by Srila Govinda Maharaj that we could read it.
And about Maharaj,
Yeah.
to read also.
Yes. Sanatana dehe Krishna kandu upajanya ama parikshite ihandila patana Krishna somehow or other manifested these itching sores on the body of Sanatana Goswami and sent him here to test me. This is Mahaprabhu saying this. Kriya kari alingana na karitma yabe, Krishna tani aparada danda paitma tabe. If I had hated Sanatana Goswami and had not embraced him, I would certainly have been chastised for offences to Krishna. Parishada deha e nahaya durganda, pratama divasa pailan, chatushamsha ganda. Sanatana Goswami is one of the associates of Krishna. There could not be any bad odor from his body. On the first day I embraced him. I smelled the aroma of chatushnama, the mixture of sandalwood pulp, camphor, aguru, and musk. An associate of the Lord is one whose body is fully engaged in the service of the Lord. A materialist might see Sanatana Goswami's body as being full of itching sores that exuded foul moisture and a bad smell. Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu, however, said that actually the aroma of his body was the excellent scent of a mixture of sandalwood pulp, camphor, musk, and aguru. In the Garuda Puran, this mixture, which is called chatushma, is described as follows. Kasturikaya dvau bhago chatvarash chadanasya tu kunkamasya trayas chaika chashina siyat chatusamam. 2 parts of musk, 4 parts of sandalwood, 3 parts of aguru or saffron, and 1 part of camphor were mixed together form chatusama. The aroma of chatusama is very pleasing. It's also mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 6th chapter, text 115. How much more we got of this chapter? It's quite long.
Bhakti Vilas is written by whom?
Sanatana Goswami. And it's extremely important to read that. Yes, but it's time, over time, it's a lifetime, you know. We shouldn't, if we
become very, very old and they have to go around the Grand Sila because they could not walk anymore to...
Yes. If we try to do too much seeking knowledge, service is important. We must read also. But
Say, read as much as you can.
Yes.
Sing 5 songs in the morning, 5 songs in the evening, and preach.
Yes. But it can become too distracting from service. Okay, service is so important. We emphasize service. That's how it'll come to you, not through the reading of the books. It's not important to have the conception. It's important to have the understanding. Yes.
Yes.
But
service will reveal in the heart.
Service will reveal them exactly. Vastuta Prabhuya Kaila Lingana Tanraspashi Gandhaila Chandanera Sama. In fact, however, when Ch.Ch. embraced the body of Sanatana Goswami, by the Lord's touch alone, there was a fragrance exactly like that of sandalwood pulp. Prabhu Kai Sanatana Namanahiya Dukha Tamara Lingane Ami Pai Bada Sukha. Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatan, do not be aggrieved, for when I embrace you, I actually get great pleasure. Evatsara Tumi Han Raha Samasane, Vatsara Raya Tami Ami Prataimu Vrindavane. Stay with me at Jagannath Puri for 1 year, and after that I shall send you to Vrindavan. Ete boli punya tanre kaila lingana, kandu gela angahila suvanera sama. After this, Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu again embraced Sanatana Goswami. Thus immediately Sanatana's itches disappeared and his entire body resembled the color of gold.
Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, when you surrender to me, this body become mine. Why you want to destroy someone else's property?
Yes.
Srila Chaladev, Sadhu Maharaj was doing an Avanita Taska, his program with the child, and he said, well, I have a surprise for the end, and he was besides Acharya Maharaj's room, and he took the laptop over there, but maybe Maharaj was going to have a shower or his engancha, and he only put the audio, not the voice. And when he listened his voice say, "Yeah, you're there." And the last thing that I heard from him was, "Take care of your health." He was saying goodbye.
Yes. Yeah.
And then nevermore.
Yes. So, Deki Haridasa Mane Haila Chamatkara, Prabhure Kahena E Bangi Ie Tamara. Seeing the change, Haridas Thakur greatly astonished all the Lord. This is your pastime. Say, Jari Kandera Pani Tomi Kaila, say Pani Lakshya in Hara Kandu Upa Jaila. My dear Lord, you made Sanatana Goswami drink the water of the Jarikanda. He actually generated the consequent itching on his sores in his body because he drank dirty water previously when he went away from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri, and he became very sick. So he's just saying this here. Kandu kari pariksha karila sanatane elila bangi tamara ke anai jane. After thus causing these itching sores, you examine Sanatana Goswami. No one can understand your transcendental pastimes. Dune alingya prabhu gela nijalaya prabhura gone kahe dune hane prema maya. After embracing both Haridas Thakur and Sanatana Goswami, Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. Then both Haridas Thakur and Sanatana Goswami, in great ecstatic love, began to describe the Lord's transcendental attributes. He mata Sanatana nahe Prabhu stane, Krishna Chaitanya Guna Kata Haridasa sane. In this way, Sanatana Goswami stayed under the care of Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu and discussed the transcendental qualities of Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur.
Yes, that is a pastime of the Lord because he drank that water and he got that, but that was arranged by the Lord because there's one devotee that was eating in Jagannath Puri, the prasadam that you throw outside that not even the cows want to eat. And
Yes.
he was eating that. He didn't get any sorrow, so that is transcendental.
That's Jagannath Das Goswami.
Yes.
We could go on and finish this chapter if you wish.
Yes, why not?
And it will take another 10-15 minutes. Dola yatra deki prabhu tandra vidya dila vrindavanaya karibena sabha shikaila. After they saw the Dol Yatra festival, Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu instructed Sanatana Goswami fully about what to do in Vrindavan and bade him for farewell. Yakale vidya hela prabhura charane, de janara vicheda dasha, nayaya varnane. The scene of separation that took place when Sanatana Goswami and Srimad Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took leave of one another is so piteous that it cannot be described herein. To speed it up, I'll leave out the Bengali. Okay, so we'll just do the English. So Sanatana Goswami decided to go to Vrindavan by the very forest path Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had traversed in going to Vrindavan. Yes. Ye pate ye grama nada shahila yahan ye lila balabhadra bhate stane sabha liki nila. Sanatana Goswami noted from Balabhadra Bhattacharya all the villages, rivers and hills where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had performed his pastimes. Sanatana Goswami met all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then, travelling by that same path, visited the places through which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had passed. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his song Sharanagati, text 31.3, May I visit all the holy places associated with the Leelas of Lord Chaitanya and his devotees. Devotees should make a point of visiting all the places where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes. Indeed, pure devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even want to see the places he simply visited for only hours or minutes. Ye ye Leela Prabhu Pate Kaila ye stane ta deki pramavesha hoya sanatane. As soon as Sanatana Goswami visited a place where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had performed his pastimes on the way, he was immediately filled with ecstatic love. In this way, Sanatana Goswami reached Vrindavan. Later, Rupa Goswami came and met him. Srila Rupa Goswami was delayed in Bengal for a year because he was dividing his money amongst his relatives to situate them in their proper positions. Although Srila Rupa Goswami renounced his family life, he nevertheless was not unjust to his family members. Even after renunciation, he returned to Bengal, where he properly divided whatever money he had and gave it to his relatives, so that it would not be inconvenienced. Yes. He collected whatever money he had accumulated in Bengal and divided it among his relatives, the brahmanas and the temples. Sabamana kata kashaya karina vahana nashinta hana sigra aila Vrindavana. Thus, after finishing all the tasks he had on his mind, he returned to Vrindavan fully satisfied. The brothers met at Vrindavan, where they stayed to execute the will of Ch.Ch. Mahaprabhu. The purport. When Srila Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada, was established within the material world, the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya gave me shelter under his lotus feet. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were previously ministers directly in charge of the government of Nawab Hussain Shah, and they were also householders, but later they became Goswamis. The Goswami, therefore, is one who executes the will of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The title Goswami is not an inherited designation. It is meant for a person who has controlled his sense gratification and dedicated his life to executing the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami became genuine Goswamis after dedicating their lives to the service of the Lord. Nana Shastra Ani Lupta Tirtha Udaharila Vrindavane Krishna Seva Prakasha Karila. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami collected many revealed scriptures. From the evidence in those scriptures, they excavated all the lost sites of pilgrimage. Thus they established temples for the worship of Lord Krishna. Yes, yes. Sanatana Grantha Kaila Bhagavatamrite Bhakta Bhakti Krishna Tattvajani Yaha Hoite. Srila Sanatana Goswami compiled the Bhagavatamrita. From this book one can understand who is a devotee. This is Srimad Bhagavatamrita, yes. What is the process of devotional service? Who is Krishna and the absolute truth? Siddhanta Sara Grantha Kaila Tashamatapani Krishna Lila Rasa Prema Yaha Aite Jani. Srila Sanatana Goswami wrote a commentary on the 10th canto, known as Dasha Tipani, from which we can understand the transcendental pastimes and ecstatic love of Krishna. He also compiled the Hari Bhakti Vilas, from which we can understand the standard of behavior of a devotee and the full extent of a Vaishnava's duty. That's Vaishnava etiquette. It's a lot of its rules and regulations, but it goes deeper than that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, the Hari Bhakti Vilas was originally compiled by Srila Sanatana Goswami. Later, Gopala Bhatta Goswami produced a shortened version of it called the Dig Dishana Tika. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are so many quotations from the Sattvata scriptures that sometimes it is inquired how the atheistic smartas can refuse to accept them and instead imagine some other opinions. What is recorded in the Hari Bhakti Vilas strictly follows the Vedic scriptures and is certainly pure, but the attitude of the karmis is always one of giving up the conclusion of pure Vaishnava understanding. Because the karmis are very much attached to the world and material activities, they always try to establish atheistic principles that oppose the understanding of the Vaishnavas. Srila Goswami also compiled many other books. Who can enumerate them? The basic principle of all these books is to show how to love Madam Mohan and Govindaji. Yes? With Radha Mohan, by worship, we have to re-establish our relationship with the Lord. With Govindaji, we try to worship for the Lord to accept our service. We engage in service and for Him to accept our service. The Bhakti Ratnakara refers to the following books by Srila Sanatana Goswami: the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the Hari Bhakti Vilas and his commentary known as Dig Darshani, Leela Stava, the commentary of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam known as Vaishnava Toshani. Sanatana Goswami compiled many books, all with the aim of describing how to serve the principal deities of Vrindavan, Govinda and Madan Gopal. Later, other deities were gradually established, and the importance of Vrindavan increased. Rupa Gosai Kaila Rasamrita Sindhu Sara, Krishna Bhakti Rasera Yahan Bhaya Vistara. Srila Rupa Goswami also wrote many books, the most famous of which is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. From that book, one can understand the essence of devotional service to Krishna and the transcendental mellow one can derive from such service. Ujvala Nilamani, Nama Kranta Kaila Ara, Radha Krishna Lila Rasantan, Pai Para.
But the Samhita is different from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, no?
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
Very high books.
Very high books. Srila Rupa Goswami also compiled a book named Ujvala Nilamani, from which one can understand to the fullest limits the loving affairs of Sri Radha Krishna. This is the book that we are not encouraged to read.
No, better not.
Vigdagda Madhava, Lalita Madhava, Nataka Yugala Krishna Lila Rasantan Payira Sakala. Srila Rupa Goswami also compiled two important dramas named Vidagda Madhava and Lalita Madhava, from which one can understand all the mellows derived from the pastimes of Lord Krishna. We also advised not to read these, because it's only for the high devotees.
Pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna we can only hear from...
Srila Rupa Goswami compiled 100,000 verses, beginning the book Dana Keli Komudi. In all these scriptures, he elaborately explained the transcendental mellows of the activities of Vrindavan. Referring to the words Laksha Grantha, 100,000 verses, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the total number of verses written by Srila Rupa Goswami is 100,000, Eka Laksha or Laksha Grantha. The copyists count both the verses and the prose sections of the Sanskrit works. One should not mistakenly think that Srila Rupa Goswami compiled 100,000 books. He actually wrote 16 books, as mentioned in the first wave of Bhakti Ratnakara, Sri Rupa Goswami Grantha Shodha Karila. The son of Sri Vallabha or Anupama, Srila Rupa Goswami's younger brother, was a great learned scholar named Srila Jiva Goswami. After renouncing everything, Srila Jiva Goswami went to Vrindavan. Later, he wrote many books on devotional service and expanded the work of preaching. In particular, Srila Jiva Goswami compiled the book Bhagavat Sandarbha or Shat Sandarbha, which is the essence of all scriptures. From this one can obtain a conclusive understanding of devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also compiled a book called Gopala Champu, which is the essence of all Vedic literature. In this book, he has exhibited the ecstatic love and transactions and pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. In the Shat Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami set forth the truths about the transcendental love of Krishna. In this way, he expanded 400,000 verses in all his books. When Jiva Goswami wanted to go to Mathura from Bengal, he requested permission from Srila Nityananda Prabhu. Because of Jiva Goswami's relationship with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, who were greatly favoured by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu placed his feet on the head of Srila Jiva Goswami and embraced him. Lord Nityananda Prabhu ordered, "Yes, go soon to Vrindavan. That place has been awarded to your family, to your father and uncles, and by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore you must go there immediately." By the order of Nityananda Prabhu, he went and actually achieved the result of his order, for he compiled many books for a long time and preached the cult of Bhakti from Vrindavan. These three, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Jiva Goswami, are my spiritual masters, and so is also is Raghunath Das Goswami. I therefore offer prayers at their lotus feet, for I am their servant. Thus I have described the Lord's meeting again with Sanatana Goswami. By hearing this, I can understand the Lord's desire. These characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like sugar cane that one can chew to relish transcendental juice, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela, 4th chapter, describing Sanatana Goswami's stay with the Lord at Jagannath Puri. Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundari Govinda Goswami Maharaj. Jai. Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Okay. Can I have some kartals? Thank you so much. Hare Raya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha. Hare Raya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Jadadhara Srivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jadadhara Srivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Rupa Sanatana Pata Raghunath. Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Ch.Ch Goshai Gori Charana Vandan. Jai Goshai Gori Charana Vandan. Jai Te Vignana Abhishta Puran. Jai Te Vignana Abhishta Puran. Ch.Ch Goshai Chandra Muni Chandra Das. Ch.Ch Goshai Chandra Muni Chandra Das. Tansavara Pada Renu Mura Pankagras. Tansabcharana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas. Tansabcharana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas. Janame Mura E Abhilash. Janame Mura E Abhilash. Ch.Ch Goshai Jabe Braja Kolabas. Ch.Ch Goshai Jabe Braja Kolabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash. Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash. Ananda Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Ananda Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padam Jayaman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padama Jayaman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyash. Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriyash. Nam Sankirtana Koen Narottama Das. Nam Sankirtana Koen Narottama Das. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyash. Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyash. Harinam Sankirtana Koi Narottama Das. Nam Sankirtana Koi Narottama Das. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Gandhava Govinda Sundar Giridhar Gopalji ki Jai. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Garanga Radha Shama Sundar Giridhar ki Jai. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Garanga Sundar Radha Giridhar ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Pransa Parivrakacharya Varastota Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Nirmalacharya Dev Gosvami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Pransa Parivrakacharya Varastota Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Raja ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Pransa Parivrakacharya Varastota Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Bhakti Raka Shri Dev Goswami Raja ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Pransa Parivrakacharya Varastota Rashata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhu ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Srila Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Srila Satyanand Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan ki Jai. Srila Vishnu Chakravati Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Nirupan Shamananda Srinivasachari Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj ki Jai. Saprasad Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai. Saprasad Shri Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhikan Giri Govardhana ki Jai. Shraddha Bhakti Vignaya Vinishaya Shri Nrsingadev ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhupada Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna ji ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Vishwa Vaishnava Raja Sabha ki Jai. Akara Mat Raja Shri Chaitanya Mat ki Jai. Tadiya Shaka Mat ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki Jai. Vishwa Vyapi Tadiya Shaka Mat ki Jai. Shri Mayapur ki Jai. Srimad Navabik ki Jai. Vrindam Purushottam Dham ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath ji ki Jai. Shri Govinda Kund ki Jai. Shri Shari Shiva Gangadharju ki Jai. Samaveta Vaishnava Mandala ki Jai. Samavata Vinda ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Go Pramanande Hari Hari Bol.
Sri Krishna Janmashtami Adivas
Ki Jai, yes, oh yes.